Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Relationships. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone finally realizes your absence? Not just a fleeting thought, but the deep, unmistakable feeling of missing you so much that it disrupts their world. If you've ever experienced heartbreak, distance, or separation, you know how powerful that realization can be. It's not just about physical absence. It's about the emotional void you leave behind. Let's dive into this together. Picture this. You've stepped back from someone who once took you for granted. Maybe it wasn't intentional on their part, or maybe they simply thought you'd always be there. But now, without your presence, their world feels different. There's a disruption in the rhythm of their daily life, an unmistakable void that only you could fill. And that's when it hits them. They miss you. This isn't just about longing for someone's company. Missing someone often reflects a deeper understanding of what they brought to your life. It's about realizing that the moments of connection, care, and love you shared were far from ordinary. It's about confronting the reality that no one else can quite take your place. But let's get real. This kind of realization doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds gradually, often when people least expect it. It's in the mundane moments of their day when they instinctively reach for their phone to text you, only to remember you're not there anymore. It's in the quiet of the evening when their thoughts wander to the comfort your presence once brought. It's in the social events where laughter feels hollow because you're not there to share it. The realization doesn't just creep in, it overtakes them. Here's where Stoicism offers us a powerful perspective. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." In relationships, stepping back and creating distance can often illuminate truths that proximity obscures. By removing yourself from a dynamic where you're undervalued, you're not only reclaiming your worth, you're giving the other person the opportunity to see what life is like without you. And that absence speaks louder than any words ever could. The beauty of this process is that it forces reflection. The person who misses you starts to replay the moments they took for granted. They remember the kindness you showed, the ways you supported them, and the laughter you brought to their life. But more importantly, they start to understand how much of their happiness and stability was tied to your presence. This realization can evoke a mix of emotions: regret, longing, and even guilt. They might find themselves wishing they had appreciated you more, or wondering if it's too late to make amends. And while this isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions, it's a natural consequence of creating space and allowing them to feel the full impact of your absence. If you're on the other side of this equation, let me reassure you. Your decision to step back isn't selfish or cruel. It's a powerful act of self-respect. You're showing that your time, energy, and love are valuable. And sometimes, the only way people truly understand that value is when it's no longer readily available. So, what happens next? That's the fascinating part, and it's exactly what we'll be exploring in today's video. From the disruption of their daily life to the emotional turmoil they face, we're going to unpack the stages of realization someone experiences when they miss you like crazy. But more importantly, we'll look at what this means for you, how you can grow, reclaim your power, and build stronger, more intentional connections moving forward. Stay with me, folks, because this journey into human emotions and relationships is just getting started. Let's unravel the layers of what it truly means to be missed and the profound impact your presence or absence can have. Grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's dive deep into this conversation. You won't want to miss it. Number 1. The disruption of daily life. Hey folks, let's dive right into it. Have you ever wondered what really happens when someone starts to miss you? The first thing that hits them, whether they realize it or not, is how much their daily life changes without you in it. And it's not always in big, dramatic ways. No. It's often the small disruptions, the tiny, unexpected shifts in their routine that slowly make them aware of your absence. Think about it. When you were present in their life, there were patterns, habits, and rituals tied to your presence. Maybe it was the daily good morning text that set the tone for their day, or the way you always reminded them to stay hydrated or eat lunch. It could even be something as simple as sharing a laugh over a meme. These little things create a rhythm, a comfortable predictability that feels almost invisible until it's gone. The absence of these small gestures is where the disruption begins. Suddenly, their mornings feel quieter. Their phone doesn't light up with your messages like it used to. And as the day goes on, they notice the void. Maybe they used to tell you about the annoying coworker or the unexpected compliment they received. Without you there to share these moments, they start to feel disconnected, not just from you, but from the comfort your presence brought to their routine. And here's the interesting part. They may not realize what's happening right away. At first, it might feel like an odd emptiness, a nagging sense that something is off. But as the days go by, the weight of your absence becomes harder to ignore. They start to see just how much you contributed to their sense of balance and stability, even in ways they took for granted. And now, let's tie this back to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This doesn't just apply to how we live our lives. It's also a powerful reminder of how deeply our actions and presence can impact others. When you step back from someone's life, it forces them to confront the reality of what they've lost and how much they depended on you, often in ways they never fully appreciated. It's not just about what they lose externally, either. Internally, they start to feel the emotional gap. Without you, their day lacks the spark or grounding you provided. Maybe your encouragement helped them get through tough days, or your humor made the mundane moments more bearable. Whatever it was, your absence makes them realize how much brighter their world was with you in it. Let's think about a specific scenario. Imagine someone who's used to texting you every night before bed. It's become a habit, a comforting ritual that ends their day on a positive note. When you stop responding or step back from their life, that habit is disrupted. At first, they might try to brush it off or distract themselves. But over time, that missing text becomes more than just a gap in their routine. It becomes a symbol of the connection they've lost. This disruption doesn't just affect their routine, it starts to challenge their emotions. They may feel confused, frustrated, or even regretful as they begin to recognize how much they relied on you. And while this might be a painful realization for them, it's also a powerful reminder of the value you brought to their life. For you, Stoic friend, this is an opportunity to reflect on the impact you have on others. It's not about using your absence as a tool to manipulate. It's about understanding that your presence is a gift, one that others may not fully appreciate until it's no longer there. And in stepping back, you allow them the space to see and feel that truth for themselves. As we continue this journey, we'll explore more of the emotional and psychological shifts that happen when someone starts to miss you. But for now, I want to hear from you. Drop this in the comments. I am worth noticing. Let's start a conversation about how your presence has shaped the lives of others. Thanks for joining me today. Folks, let's keep unraveling the layers of human connection together. Number 2, feeling unnoticed. Hey there, Stoic friends. Let's talk about one of the most difficult and yet transformative feelings we can experience: being unnoticed. It's something that cuts deep, doesn't it? You're there, showing up, giving your time, energy, and heart to someone, only to feel like they don't even see you. But here's the catch. When you decide to step back, that's when they finally notice. The shift is undeniable, and it's often the first step toward them realizing just how much you meant to their life. Picture this. You've been the one always reaching out, checking in, and making sure they feel supported. You've been the emotional anchor, the steady presence they could always rely on. But somewhere along the way, they stopped acknowledging your efforts. They started taking you for granted, assuming you'd always be there. Then, one day, you decide enough is enough, and you step back. At first, they might not even notice the space you've created, but give it time, and the reality of your absence will hit them like a ton of bricks. Why? Because being unnoticed isn't just about feeling invisible. It's about the void left behind when the person you overlooked is no longer there. They start to feel it in the small, everyday moments. Maybe it's the text you used to send in the morning that gave them a boost for the day, or the way you'd laugh at their jokes, even the bad ones, making them feel like a star. Without these things, their life feels quieter, duller, emptier. They might not admit it, but they'll feel it. And that's when the regret starts to set in. Let's take a deeper look at what's happening here. When someone feels unnoticed, they often internalize the pain, wondering if they're not good enough or why they're being overlooked. But when the roles reverse and they're the ones feeling unseen, it becomes a mirror reflecting their own behavior. They start to realize how much they relied on your presence to bring light into their day and how little they acknowledged it at the time. Here's where Stoicism comes into play. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. That privilege extends to the people we connect with. When you're fully present in someone's life, you give them a gift that's irreplaceable. And when you step back, you give them a chance to see the true value of what they've lost. For them, it can be a humbling experience. Imagine them sitting alone, scrolling through social media, and seeing you thriving. You're out with friends, pursuing your passions, and radiating confidence. Meanwhile, they're left wondering, how did I not see how amazing this person was when they were right in front of me? It's not just about missing your presence. It's about realizing the depth of the connection they took for granted. But let's shift the focus back to you for a moment. Feeling unnoticed doesn't define your worth. Stepping back isn't about punishing someone or playing games. It's about reclaiming your time and energy. It's about creating space for people who truly value you and respect what you bring to their lives. And in doing so, you allow those who overlooked you to feel the weight of their own actions. The beauty of this process is that it's transformative for both sides. For them, it's a wake-up call, a moment to reflect on how their actions, or lack thereof, have consequences. For you, it's a step toward empowerment. You're no longer waiting for recognition or validation. You're showing yourself and the world that you deserve to be seen and valued. Let's make this interactive, Stoic friends. Drop this in the comments. I choose to be seen. Let's start a conversation about reclaiming our value and stepping into spaces where we're truly appreciated. And if this resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe. Joining this community isn't just about watching videos. It's about building a space where we all learn, grow, and support each other. Thanks for being here, folks. There's so much more to unpack in the next sections, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Number 3, holding others to the standard you set. Hey folks, let's talk about something powerful yet often overlooked: standards. Have you ever stopped to think about the standards you set in relationships? Whether it's with friends, family, or romantic partners. The way you hold others accountable to those standards speaks volumes about your self-respect and values. And here's the kicker. When you step back and hold others to those standards, it forces them to reevaluate their behavior in ways they never expected. Setting standards isn't about being demanding or difficult. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. When you've been consistent in showing respect, kindness, and loyalty, it's only natural to expect the same in return. But what happens when the people around you fall short? Too often, we let things slide, thinking maybe they didn't mean it, or I'll just let it go this time. Over time, this erodes your boundaries and sends the message that you're okay with being treated as an afterthought. But when you start holding others to the standards you set, everything changes. It's not about confrontation or ultimatums, it's about leading by example. Think about it. If you consistently show up with kindness, honesty, and integrity, people begin to notice. And when you step back or call out behavior that doesn't align with your values, it forces them to confront their actions. They begin to ask themselves, have I been falling short? What can I do to meet their expectations? Let's take a deeper dive into why this is so impactful. People are naturally drawn to those who have a strong sense of self-worth. When you demonstrate that you're not afraid to step back from someone who doesn't meet your standards, it sends a clear message. You value yourself too much to accept less than you deserve. This isn't about arrogance. It's about self-respect. And the truth is, self-respect is magnetic. It commands admiration and, often, a renewed effort from others to rise to the occasion. Now, let's tie this back to Stoicism. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Sometimes, the people in your life don't realize they're falling short because they've grown too comfortable with the dynamic. By holding them to the standards you've set, you're not just protecting your boundaries, you're giving them the opportunity to grow and reflect. Here's an example. Imagine you've always been the one to initiate plans with a friend. Over time, you notice they rarely make the effort to reach out or prioritize your time together. Instead of letting resentment build, you decide to stop initiating. At first, they might not notice, but as the weeks go by, the absence of your effort becomes glaring. If they truly value the friendship, they'll step up, realizing they've been taking your consistency for granted. If not, it's a sign that their priorities don't align with your standards, and you're better off investing your energy elsewhere. This concept doesn't just apply to friendships. In romantic relationships, holding someone to the standard you set can transform the dynamic. Maybe you've been tolerating late replies, broken promises, or half-hearted commitment. By calmly but firmly stepping back, you allow them to see that your expectations aren't negotiable. It's not about controlling them. It's about creating a space where mutual respect and effort thrive. But let's be clear, holding others to your standards isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up as your best self and expecting the same in return. And when people see that you're serious about those standards, they often rise to meet them, not out of obligation, but because they realize the value you bring into their life. Now, Stoic friends, let's make this practical. What are the standards you set in your relationships? Drop this in the comments. I uphold my standards. Sharing your insights could inspire someone else to reclaim their worth and strengthen their boundaries. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. By joining this community, you're not just gaining insights, you're becoming part of a movement that prioritizes growth, self-respect, and meaningful connections. Thanks for being here, folks, and let's continue exploring these powerful truths together in the next section. You won't want to miss it. Number 4, witnessing happy couples. Hey folks, let's talk about a moment that hits harder than we often admit. Seeing happy couples. Whether it's at a cafe, in the park, or scrolling through social media, witnessing the joy and connection between two people can stir up unexpected emotions, especially when you're dealing with distance, loss, or unfulfilled expectations in your own relationships. At first glance, you might think it's jealousy or longing, but there's something deeper at play. When someone sees a happy couple, it's not just about wanting what they have, it's about being reminded of what's missing in their own life. This realization can be a powerful trigger for self-reflection, and for those who've lost someone they cared about, it often brings your absence into sharper focus. Imagine this. They're walking through the park, and they see a couple laughing together, completely engrossed in each other's company. It's such a simple, beautiful moment, but it tugs at something within them. It's not about the couple, it's about what that image represents. Connection, joy, mutual respect, things they might not have fully appreciated when they had them with you. In that fleeting moment, they're reminded of the warmth and comfort your presence brought to their life. Witnessing happy couples can also stir up regret. They might start comparing their current state, maybe lonely or stuck in unfulfilling relationships, to the moments of genuine connection they shared with you. Regret is a powerful emotion because it forces them to confront their own choices and actions. Did I take them for granted? Did I push them away? These questions linger, creating a ripple effect in their thoughts and emotions. Now, let's shift the lens. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control and to view external events as opportunities for growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." For them, witnessing happy couples might initially feel like a painful reminder, but it's also a chance to reflect on how they've navigated relationships and what they truly value. But here's the empowering part for you. Their realization is not about you seeking validation or proving a point. It's about the natural consequence of the absence you created. When someone sees the qualities they miss in you reflected in others, it serves as a mirror. It shows them what they lost, what they overlooked, and what they might need to change moving forward. Let's bring this closer to reality. Social events are a prime example. They attend a wedding or a gathering where couples are sharing moments of affection, and they can't help but feel the contrast. It's not just about missing a partner, it's about missing you. The way you made them feel valued, understood, and seen. It's these moments that stir emotions they might have buried or ignored. But let's not forget the other side of this experience, you. When you see happy couples, it's natural to feel a pang of longing or even sadness. But remember, it's also an opportunity for reflection. What kind of relationship do you truly want? What standards are non-negotiable for you? Witnessing happiness in others isn't about comparison, it's about inspiration. It's a reminder that the kind of connection you desire is possible, and it starts with valuing yourself. Here's where this ties back to holding others to the standards you set. When someone sees happy couples, it challenges them to think about how they measure up, not just in relationships with others, but in the relationship they have with themselves. Are they giving their best? Are they truly present? And more importantly, are they capable of the kind of love that builds happiness, rather than taking it for granted? Stoic friends, let me ask you this. What does witnessing happy couples inspire in you? Is it a reminder of what you deserve, or a call to reflect on your own journey? Drop this in the comments. I deserve true connection. Let's talk about what it means to value ourselves and the relationships we choose to nurture. And hey, if you're finding these insights valuable, Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By joining our community, you're not just watching videos, you're part of a conversation that's all about growth, self-worth, and meaningful connection. Thanks for being here, and stay with me. We're just getting started on this journey together. Number 5, facing emotional turmoil. Hey folks, let's talk about something we all face at one point or another. Emotional turmoil. It's that inner storm that brews when feelings of regret, confusion, or sadness collide, leaving us overwhelmed and searching for clarity. And for someone who realizes your absence, this turmoil can be even more intense. It's not just about missing you, it's about facing a whirlwind of emotions they might not have been prepared for. When someone starts to miss you deeply, their emotions often spiral in ways they can't control. At first, they might brush off their feelings, telling themselves it's no big deal. But as time passes, that emotional turmoil begins to seep into their daily life. They find themselves replaying conversations, thinking about moments they took for granted, and wondering what they could have done differently. It's an unsettling process, but one that forces them to confront the reality of their choices. One of the most challenging aspects of emotional turmoil is the sense of loss it brings. They start to realize that your presence in their life wasn't just a convenience. It was a source of stability, comfort, and joy. Without you, there's a gap, a sense of incompleteness they can't quite fill. And that realization, it stings. It's like waking up to the value of something only after it's gone. Now, emotional turmoil doesn't manifest in just one way. For some, it's a constant feeling of unease, a sense that something important is missing. For others, it's more acute, coming in waves of regret and self-doubt. They might find themselves asking questions like, why didn't I appreciate them more? Or did I push them away? These questions are tough, but they're also necessary. They're the starting point for growth and self-reflection. Here's where Stoicism offers a powerful perspective. Epictetus reminds us, man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Emotional turmoil often stems not from the actual loss itself, but from the stories we tell ourselves about it. For someone missing you, the turmoil is amplified by the what-ifs and could-haves that play on repeat in their mind. It's not just about what happened, it's about the fear of what they've lost for good. Let's explore how this might look in their daily life. They're at work, trying to focus on a project, but their mind keeps wandering back to a time when you were there to cheer them on or provide reassurance. Or maybe they're out with friends, but the conversations feel hollow because you're not there to share in the laughter. These moments of emotional disconnection are a direct result of your absence, and they're impossible to ignore. But let's not forget, you've likely experienced your own share of emotional turmoil. Stepping back from someone isn't easy, especially when you care deeply about them. But here's the truth, by stepping back, you're not just protecting your energy, you're giving both of you the space to reflect and grow. Emotional turmoil, as painful as it is, can be a catalyst for transformation. It forces people to sit with their feelings, to confront the parts of themselves they've been avoiding, and to recognize the value of what they've lost. For them, this turmoil can lead to a powerful realization. It's a moment of reckoning, where they see the impact of their actions or inaction on the connection they once had with you. And while this process is difficult, it's also necessary. It's what pushes them to grow, to change, and perhaps even to reach out in an attempt to make things right. Now, let me ask you this, Stoic friends. How have you navigated emotional turmoil in your own life? Drop this in the comments. I rise above the storm. Let's start a conversation about resilience and growth in the face of emotional challenges. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Joining this community means being part of a group that values growth, self-awareness, and meaningful connections. Thanks for being here, folks. Let's keep exploring these deep truths together. You're not going to want to miss what's next. Number 6. Facing social events without you. Hey folks, let's talk about a scenario that hits differently. Facing social events without someone who used to make them meaningful. Imagine this. They're at a party, a wedding, or even just a casual gathering with friends. But something feels off. It's not the food, the music, or the crowd. It's the absence of you. That realization can be a powerful moment, one that forces them to confront not just the void you've left behind, but also their role in creating it. Social events are where connections shine the brightest. It's in these moments that your laughter, your perspective, and your presence had a way of elevating the experience for them. Whether you were the one to crack the perfect joke at the right time, or the person who made them feel seen in a crowded room, your presence left a mark. And now, without you, those same events feel emptier, less fulfilling. Here's what happens next. They notice. It might start with a fleeting thought, I wish they were here. But as the event goes on, that thought grows. They begin to realize how much of their enjoyment was tied to sharing those moments with you. The inside jokes, the meaningful glances, the way you made the mundane feel special, it's all missing. And in that absence, they begin to see the depth of the connection they once had with you. But there's another layer to this. Social events often highlight what we take for granted. In the past, they might have assumed you'd always be there, supporting them, making them laugh, or simply standing by their side. Now, they're left to navigate these moments alone, and it's not the same. They start to compare the joy of experiencing those events with you to the emptiness of experiencing them without you. And that contrast, it's impossible to ignore. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on the Stoic perspective here. Epictetus once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them." For them, these social events become a mirror, reflecting their own actions or inaction that led to the distance between you. It's not just about missing your presence. It's about the regret of not valuing it when they had it. Now, imagine them at a social event surrounded by people, yet feeling a pang of loneliness. They see other connections thriving, couples sharing laughs, friends leaning on each other, moments of genuine joy, and they can't help but think of you. It's not about wanting to replace you or fill the void with someone else. It's about realizing that the bond they had with you was unique, irreplaceable, and far more meaningful than they acknowledged at the time. For you, this scenario can feel bittersweet. You've likely shared moments like these, where your absence feels tangible, even to yourself. But remember, stepping back isn't about punishing anyone. It's about honoring your own worth and creating space for the right people to appreciate you fully. Let's take this a step further. Their experience at social events without you isn't just about missing you, it's about growth. In those moments of solitude, they're forced to reflect on their own behavior. Were they too distracted to notice your efforts? Did they take your companionship for granted? These questions linger, sparking an internal dialogue that often leads to greater awareness and, sometimes, change. For them, social events become a lesson in perspective. They learn that the value of an experience isn't just in the event itself, it's in the people who share it with you. And for you, these moments serve as a reminder of the impact you've had and the kind of connections you deserve. So, let me ask you this, Stoic friends. What's a moment where your absence has spoken louder than your presence? Drop this in the comments. My presence leaves a mark. Did I Let's start a conversation about the power of meaningful connections and the lessons learned through reflection. And before we move on, don't forget to subscribe. By joining this community, you're embracing a journey of growth, self-awareness, and stronger relationships. Thanks for being here, folks. Let's keep going. There's so much more to uncover. Number 7. Reflecting on personal mistakes. Hey folks, let's talk about something that's hard for anyone to face. Reflecting on personal mistakes. It's not easy to sit with the realization that your actions, or lack thereof, may have led to a loss or distance in a meaningful relationship. But when someone starts to miss you, that reflection becomes inevitable. And while it's tough, it's also one of the most powerful catalysts for growth. When they finally take a step back and look at the dynamic you shared, they begin to piece together moments where they might have fallen short. Perhaps it was a conversation where they dismissed your feelings, or a time when they didn't prioritize your needs. These aren't just fleeting memories. They're sharp reminders of the opportunities they missed to show appreciation and respect. And the weight of those realizations, it hits hard. What's striking about reflecting on mistakes is how it forces someone to face their own patterns. For example, they might notice a recurring tendency to take people for granted, thinking that love or friendship is something permanent and unchanging. But when you stepped back, you disrupted that assumption. Your absence becomes the space where they confront uncomfortable truths about how they've navigated relationships. Let's ground this in an example. Imagine they're revisiting a moment when you voiced a concern or set a boundary. At the time, they might have brushed it off, thinking it wasn't a big deal. But now, looking back, they see how dismissing your needs created cracks in the foundation of your connection. It's these moments of hindsight that often lead to the deepest personal revelations. Reflecting on personal mistakes isn't just about regret, it's about understanding. They begin to see how their choices impacted not just the relationship, but you as a person. And with that understanding comes a profound sense of accountability. They start to recognize that the loss they feel isn't just about missing your presence. It's about coming to terms with their role in why you stepped away. This process of reflection ties beautifully into Stoic philosophy. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." For them, reflecting on their mistakes isn't just an end. It's the start of something new. It's a chance to grow, to shift their behavior, and to approach future relationships with more mindfulness and care. Your decision to step back becomes a turning point in their personal development. But reflection is a double-edged sword. Alongside the desire to grow, there's often a lingering question: is it too late? They may wonder if they'll ever have the chance to make things right with you. This uncertainty can be deeply unsettling, but it's also what drives meaningful change. It's the recognition that relationships require effort, respect, and reciprocity, values they may not have fully embraced until now. For you, knowing someone is reflecting on their mistakes can bring a mix of emotions. It's validating to know your absence has sparked their growth, but it's also a reminder of the pain that led to this point. That's why it's important to focus on your own journey. Their reflection is theirs to navigate. Your role is to continue honoring your boundaries and pursuing relationships that align with your values. The beauty of this process is that it's transformative for everyone involved. For them, reflecting on mistakes becomes a mirror, showing them not just what they lost, but what they need to change to avoid losing again. And for you, it's a reaffirmation of your worth, a reminder that stepping back wasn't just an act of self-preservation, but an opportunity for both of you to grow. So, Stoic friends, let me ask you this. What have you learned from reflecting on your own mistakes? Drop this in the comments. Reflection leads to growth, Let's start a conversation about the power of self-awareness and the lessons we take forward into our relationships. Thank you for joining me today, Stoic friends. Remember, every relationship, every experience teaches us something valuable about others and, more importantly, about ourselves. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like and share it with someone who might need these insights. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and become part of this incredible community. Together, we're learning, growing, and building relationships rooted in respect and authenticity. Until next time, take care and keep embracing the power of reflection. See you in the next video.